like I said, I haven't talked a whole lot about the transgender thing here in the station, because frankly, they're a very small minority in our society. But over the last few years, they seem to have caused trouble wherever they go. So I have a few things to say. First thing is this. If an adult wants to identify themselves as the opposite gender, or gets a sex change, or decides they're actually an alien from Mars, so be it. More power to them. It's a free country. I mean, let your freak flag fly. But with this case in particular, teenagers and children should not be making these life-altering decisions. If you're an adult, fine. But these are teenagers and children, and they're taking potentially harmful hormone blockers and surgeries when they even aren't old enough to get a job, drink, pay bills. They're barely old enough to get a driver's license, and they can't even stay out past midnight. But yet they're allowed to say they made a decision to change their gender. Their brains just haven't developed yet to make that kind of decision. In fact, I think it's borderline child abuse to allow children to take these blockers and go through these procedures. If you're a parent and allow your child to do that, I think that's almost child abuse to do that for them. But also, in a way, this shows how far the world of psychology has fallen and how political the science of psychology has gotten. So, the American Psychological Association has even taken transsexualism out of its list of mental disorders. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, politics and science should never mix. Scientists should do things objectively and analyze the facts. And objectively here, with transsexuals or transgender people, there's something definitely wrong because they believe they're the opposite gender. Something's not matching up in their brain. But instead of getting these people actual psychological help and trying to find the underlying issues, especially among children, if a 9-year-old says he thinks he's really a girl, there's maybe some kind of underlying issue. Maybe there's abuse. Maybe there's bullying. Maybe there's something else going on with that child. Let's figure that out instead of just catering to them. But like I said, they just add to the problem, the psychologists do. Just giving these people what they want. It's the same thing as giving heroin to a drug addict. Yeah, by giving them the heroin, it makes them happier at the moment and it relieves their withdrawal symptoms, but the problem is still there. The underlying problem is still there. In fact, by giving them the heroin, you've only made it worse. And it will keep getting worse until they finally overdose. And we find this to be true with transgender people as well. In fact, a 2011 study by the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, published in the Wall Street Journal, showed this to be true. So this long-term study, which is over 30 years, or up to 30 years, followed 324 people who had sex reassignment surgery. The study revealed that beginning about 10 years after having the surgery, the transgender began to experience increasing mental difficulties. Most shockingly, their suicide mortality rate rose almost 20-fold above the comparable non-transgender population. This is after they get the so-called surgery that's supposed to help them. This disturbing result has yet no explanation, but probably reflects the growing sense of isolation reported by the aging transgenders after the surgery. So it doesn't help them. These surgeries don't help them. They still have the feelings of doubt. They still have a much higher suicide rate. So obviously this is not a cure for them. This study just shows that all these surgeries and other prescriptions just treat the symptoms and not the disease. Now, that's one part, all right? But I also have a problem when these people expect others to accept them for what they believe they are. I mean, we see more colleges around the country launching so-called inclusive language campaigns that encourage students to use gender-inclusive language and avoid everyday words and phrases that could possibly offend someone, such as, hey guys, mankind, and man-made. Those are just a few examples that are now frowned upon in these colleges. In fact, one of these colleges, the University of Northern Colorado, has jumped on this inclusive language train bandwagon to a further extent. Because in some classes at this public institution in Greeley, which is 5 classes to be exact here, have required students to use a new ultra-inclusive lexicon. That's right, are requiring the students to use it. So, sociology professor Kelly Davis included the inclusive language requirement on at least 4 syllabuses or syllabi in the spring, according to records reviewed by Heat Street. She didn't respond to any comments by anybody. And sociology professor Mark Shuey included the requirement on a syllabus for his Sociology of Minorities class during the spring. He told Heat Street that he borrowed the language from Davis without giving mandated inclusive language much thought, and that he'll likely remove it next semester out of concern for students' free speech. And that's one problem right there. I mean, I thought these colleges were supposed to encourage discussion, not hinder it. And by telling the students they can't say certain words, it's not only a violation of their First Amendment right, this is a public institution, by the way, not a private one, but it hurts their educational process. But this brings me back to the transgender issue at large. Just as a transgender person has the freedom to be whatever he, she, or what I like, Z, wants, I have the freedom to say, you're an idiot, and I don't have to accept you for what you are. I have that freedom just like you have that freedom. I don't have to change my policies, if I'm a company, for your mental illness and put other people at risk by doing so. You can be a freak on your own time, on your own terms, and on your own dime. This is especially scary for religious groups like this Catholic school, who is just bullied into accepting someone who is against their beliefs. They have these laws in England that force them to do that. And you can bet your bottom dollar, when you get people like Hillary Clinton in there, they're going to advocate for laws just like that. I mean, if this person that over here in England I'm talking about, if they want to be the opposite gender, why couldn't they just go to a public school or some other school that didn't really care what they did? You know, if she went to some big public school, they say, yeah, we don't really care, just do what you want to do. But no, these transgender people in large, they have to force themselves onto schools and businesses that does not share the same beliefs as them. These groups believe, and they talk about it all the time, they always say, we got to have tolerance. But what they really mean is that you have to accept their viewpoint or they'll bully you until you do. That's their definition of tolerance. Tolerance is only one way, according to these people. I mean, why can't they have tolerance and respect for people who don't believe in what they do? Tolerance is supposed to go both ways. Okay, if I'm supposed to tolerate you being whatever you want to be, then at least you can tolerate my opinion as I don't believe in that. This goes both ways. Let's tolerate both people's opinion. I don't have to hate you because you're transgender, but you shouldn't hate me because I don't believe in that kind of thing, especially when it comes to religious groups. I mean, it's just like with liberals and racism and sexism. According to them, only white people can be racist and only men can be sexist. But this whole thing that we've seen, this is like the new normal now. You can literally identify as anything you want, and everybody has to accept you, or else. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, maybe I can, maybe I can take advantage of this. So from now on, I think I will identify as a black transsexual woman named Sequisha. And if you say otherwise, you say I'm not that black woman, I will call you a racist, a sexist, and a homophobe. I've got all my things covered here. Also, I think I can now get all the government contracts I want, because I got all the boxes checked. Are you transsexual? Yes. Are you black? Yes. Are you a woman? Yes. I've got all the boxes checked. I can get all the ones I want, and you better not say I'm not otherwise, because if you do, I'm going to bully you until you have to accept me.